Welcome to the first coffee of 2024. Happy New Year, everyone. Everyone have good holidays. Anyone do anything fun over Christmas or New Year's or any of that stuff? For those of you who celebrate Christmas, everyone. Well, I guess not everyone celebrates New Year's, right? There's like Chinese New Year and like different. But yeah, I just flew back to Illinois, right in the center of the U.S., where I grew up. So I was spent Christmas with my family, and then the lady and I flew to New York for a few days. So that was kind of fun. Wandered around New York City. Um, that was right before New Year's, so we saw like Times Square and stuff where they do like the countdown. Except we left the day before New Year's, so we didn't want any part of that like giant crowd. Apparently, it's really painful to actually like do Times Square for New Year's. You have to like wait for 14 hours or something. Hello, hello. Anyone get any fun Christmas presents or anything like that? For those of you who do Christmas presents. Aw. I missed you all folks too. I guess this is what, like 3 weeks that we haven't had coffee? So been a bit. What have we here? Didn't block your game. I haven't blocked anything in Russia. I know it's yeah, unfortunately with different companies, Google and those like if things are blocked, it's kind of like up to them. So I'm not blocking the game purposefully for anybody, but that sort of thing may happen, or maybe there's ways we can work around things, or I know there's stuff like in China there's a lot of things that don't work because like the Great Firewall and stuff like that. So it's like I want to help people try to get the game working behind firewalls or weird blockages or whatever, but I can do what I can do. So I assume everyone can hear me okay, right? I assume you would have said if not. Um, and I am recording. There was, for those of you who weren't here, there was this one week. It was sometime this last year. I did a bunch of like demos, and it was actually kind of a cool day. I was showing off some new features, and then I realized at the end of it that I totally forgot to start recording. So, whoops. Well, hello. Thank you. Will there be a new character? Yes, at some point there will be new characters. Um, I guess I can just dive into talking about. Oh, interesting. Some fun logos. Um, Out of these, I personally prefer the top one. I feel like that font is a little more like serious looking. Like this one looks like it's fun, but I feel like it almost looks like too playful or childish or something like that. I don't know. That's my first thought. Is the bottom one feels more like a almost like a clothing brand. I don't know. I'm trying to think like what that implies to me. Yeah, too squishy. In which country is there most players playing Bomb Squad? I think India has been number one for a while. It's kind of a toss up. Like India and like I think Brazil is up there too. Like there's a lot in South America, India, and I think Russia is maybe number three. I can actually check. Let's check. Hopefully this won't show any confidential stuff. But Google Play Console. Burp, burp, burp. All right, here's where I go every time I want to check stats and things. Up in here, go to Bomb Squad, statistics. Okay, so here we have, installed audience, daily, something, something. So India, 220. Oh, Mexico. Yeah, Mexico's up there too. Okay, Brazil isn't on the list. Sorry, I guess it's, yeah. We've got Mexico, Russia, Indonesia. Are these, oh yeah, I guess these are in order. Okay. So yeah, Bolivia, Philippines, there's Brazil down there. Peru, US way down there. Argentina. See, there's a lot of South America, so just kind of spread out a little bit. Egypt, Germany showing up there. Interesting. Is that the biggest in Europe? Germany's number one. All right, Turkey with the crazy new spelling. Or maybe it's not new, but for us it's new. Oh, France, there's France. Okay. Anyway, yeah, interesting stuff. Are FFA servers and team servers official? Yes. I mean, the ones with like the really boring names, like US East FFA2 or whatever. I'm not blocking people from like copying those names, so there's not really an official way to tell. I should probably add something like that. That would be good. Just some sort of like official checkbox or something if it's an official server. Though I don't know. Maybe it's not that important. Usually, like if people are running their own servers, you can tell pretty fast. Like all of my servers are just vanilla. There's no like crazy mods or anything like that. So. After done on working, what? New content. So for some of you who probably haven't been here, like the overall plan right now is I'm in the middle of 1.8. A roadmap Siegel will show up at some point probably to help out here, but I'm in the middle of 1.8, and the big feature in 1.8 is asset packages, they're called, or like the big remaining feature. There's been a bunch of stuff so far in 1.8, like, or I guess technically it's 1.7, but there's been a bunch of stuff so far throughout the 1.7 to 1.8 journey. But yeah, the big last thing on the list is asset packages, and that means that the game will be able to like download new things dynamically. So if we add a map or add a character or something like that, the game can just download it. Instead of like everyone in the world having to download a new copy of the game, which takes a long time. Like that's actually pretty limiting to like add things that way, because then I can't have people can't play new maps together until everyone has the map and stuff like that. So once the download system is in there, then if there's a new map, like everyone can just download that map. It's been 84 years. Oh, I love that. I saw this little mashup of, my lady showed it to me, is someone saying like, hey, I just got a little coding to finish up. And it was like a scene of like young Leonardo DiCaprio saying that. And then like it cut to that. So like, I'll come to bed soon. I just have a little coding to finish up. And then it just cuts immediately to that, which totally happens. My chain of thought just derailed and ran off a cliff here. What are we talking about? Oh yeah, the 1.8. Feel free to shoot out questions here. I'll just keep riding this train down the track wherever it's going. I know 1.7 is, I checked the date, and it's been like over a year already, which is actually longer than the previous releases. I think like 1.6 was like a year or something, and 1.7 was about a year. So it's it's been about like 1 year between. I don't know if you call those, they're not minor updates, but like major point updates. And 1.8 so far, we've been living in 1.7 world for over a year, so we're actually a little bit behind here. So on that note, though, one thing I did over break is I nerded out and wrote this big ugly long note, just kind of basically fleshing out like an exact plan for what asset packages stuff needs to get to 1.8. So this probably looks like a lot, but it's not actually that crazy. But this is super exciting because basically I just like did a ton of brainstorming and kind of like simplified this down to an exact uh, plan that I could do like step by step. So I'm very excited to just like go through these steps and then finally like get 1.8 out the door. So it's actually starting to be something that looks like, oh hey, this won't be too much further down the line. Um, so I have what I feel like is a pretty good plan for like how to incorporate asset packages in a way where like older servers will be able to like incorporate those. So that I'm pretty excited about. Originally, like that's actually a bit of a change in thinking. Is as of like a month ago, I was thinking of going a different path where like I was going to start on basically getting squads up and running, and so like start with really simple squad stuff like the text-based RPG stuff I was talking about, where people could like write really simple like squad-based games, and then I was going to add asset packages kind of on top of that, and then evolve that forward into like the full game. The problem with that, I mean, that's what I want to do eventually, or anyway. But the problem there is that people that have existing servers, they would basically have to like redo everything for like the squad system, and also it would take a while to get the squad system like up to the point where it has all the features of like the old stuff. So I didn't want to make people wait that long for asset packages. So I came up with like a good plan, I think, for getting asset packages in there in a way that like old servers will be able to use them, but they will also kind of evolve into squads mode as well. So I know that sounds very vague and wishy-washy, but I'm very excited about that. So I'm excited to like burn through that checklist or that to-do list I made myself and finally get 1.8 out the door. So there will probably be some like minor limitations at start, like asset packages. We won't probably be able. Well, maybe we will. We'll have to see. Like maybe they'll work for maps, but not characters or something like that. But I'm excited about just getting something out there. There's always with development, I feel like half the challenge is just to like shipping something. There's always the term minimum viable product. You hear that a lot in like software development, which is just getting like something out the door, something that works, even if it's like crappy. So I need to start like thinking like that with the 1.8 stuff and just get like asset packages in there in some form, and we'll clean them up as we go. Burr, 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 burr. So yeah, all right. What all have I missed here? Okay. Yeah, maybe I'll keep going over this stuff for a bit, and then maybe we can chat about that. Maybe after we like exhaust the initial burst of questions here. I don't have any like big items on the agenda today. Just it's more like a status update day and chat about whatever kind of day. Um, so yeah, as far as status update, also like January, like this month, it's kind of boring month for me. I know I mentioned before, like I had some just like busy work stuff I have to do. One of the big things is getting my V1 master server updated to Python 3, which means not rewriting it, but doing a lot. I mean, kind of rewriting it. It's not rewriting it, but reworking it heavily. Because yeah, it's all still Python 2.7 code, and Python 2.7 has been officially like end of life for a few years now. And now Google is finally like dropping the hammer and saying like these old servers that everyone's running that are using Python 2.7, you have to like adapt them to the new system, which is Python 3 based, and it's a lot more, unfortunately, than just like flipping a switch. There's entire like libraries and APIs and modules that are just gone now and have to be reworked. So I'm supposed to, I think the end of the month is when they're kind of turning off support for that. Unfortunately, I think I was reading they have some little like switch you can flip to like keep things working a little bit longer though. So the procrastinator in me will probably do that just to give myself a little extra runway. But I should still like get some of that work done this month. So it's one of those things where yeah, it's the non-glamorous parts of game development is things like updating server code. All right, what am I missing? Cool. Yeah, in terms of like talking about stuff like styles and this and that, like I totally encourage people to like go crazy with styles and stuff like that if you're making your own stuff. There might going forward, once there's once we can do like cloud assets and things like that, where people can like share stuff easily, I'll probably, I don't know, formalize some sort of way to kind of steer people towards stuff that kind of like sticks with the game style by default. But then there'll still be places where people can hopefully find, you know, crazy stylized stuff too. So we'll have to see how that works or how that evolves. But definitely always feel free to, you know, experiment with styles. I think that's fun. I mean, for me, like doing the clay style was kind of experimenting and, you know, doing something fun. But there's plenty of styles out there. Checking out PRs. I just pulled some PRs in the other day. There's probably some more now I need to check out again. I have to. I mean, I love all the PRs and I love everything that everyone's doing and whatnot. I just have to pace myself a little bit because there's always a bit of work on my end to pull stuff in terms of like adding translation resources and you know, just fixing build issues and, you know, adding assets in the right places and stuff like that. So it's like it can definitely suck up a chunk of my day if I, you know, always pull them in immediately. So I'm trying to strike a balance between pulling in PRs decently quickly, but also not making you wait too long, but also not, you know, sucking up too much of my time. Bomb Squad plush win. Still looking for a good plush provider. If anyone sees one, please holler. 17352. Yeah. We're only on what, like 1732, I think? If you like, I forgot what the 1.4 series got to, but that got up in the hundreds. So see, this is nothing. What do you mean? Did you make plugins for Bomb Squad? Like the plugin system? Because I did that, but I haven't actually written plugins myself. Like anything I'm writing is just built into the system, which is maybe a bad idea. I know, you know, there's the concept of like if you're making a plugin system or make some sort of system, like it's good to use that, like dog fooding it, they call it. So I probably should make plugins so that I can see like how the plugin system works or doesn't work or needs to be improved. Can you make an announcement? Yes, please feel free if you haven't yet. I want a Spaz plushie too. That's kind of hard. Spaz plushie. Splaz plata. It's hard to say. And again, if I miss any messages, please just post them again. I will. I will eventually notice them. Potato. Ooh. January 23rd. All right. 13 days. Yeah, I definitely have to give us a demo when that comes out or whenever you're ready. Yeah, it would be. It would actually really be fun, not to go off on plushies too much, but yeah, like that would be super cool to like figure out how to make some fun merch. Um, like the closest thing I have for anyone who's not aware is like there's the Amazon merch stuff, which is available to some people, like the countries that it supports. There's just this goofy little merch um, link on Ballistica. It looks like it's still working. Okay, so there's a handful of stuff. But there's no plushies or anything. It would be super cool to have plushies. I think it's possible to turn Ballistica into a plugin for another engine. I mean, theoretically, it should be. I mean, that may be something, if someone's really ambitious, you could do that yourself, like with, you know, enough of it is open sourced. I mean, the only part that isn't open sourced is a little static library that handles, you know, communication with the master server and a few other things like that. So it should, like, you know, I'm not going to say it would be easy, but it should theoretically be possible to wrap it in with another engine. You would just have to like rip out the renderer guts and kind of plug it into Unreal or, you know, whatever to do its rendering, or Unity. I'm not sure like how extensible Unity is with like C++ code. Or I haven't looked into it, but I know Unreal is C++ though, so theoretically, you know, it could plug into something like that. I don't know. It would be interesting. Part of me thinks like I should do that, just like experiment with plugging it into a big engine. But I kind of like I'm also happy just working with my little weird Frankenstein minimal render engine and stuff. So yeah, it's hard to know if that would be worthwhile or not. Yeah, I mean, this is one of those things where I'd love to. Yeah, if I could find some system to do that or some company to work with that could handle the shop part for me or something. Um, or at some point, in general, my overall kind of like standing orders for myself are like if the game makes enough money at some point where I could hire people to do things like that, um, like that would be something I'd be interested in. Hiring somebody to like manage a shop or manage. At some point, it'd be cool to if modders could sell their mods or stuff like that where maybe get some financial system going like that. But I'm sure I would need people to accountants and whatever to manage that part. So there's all stuff that would be great to do. But it's something like if I were going to do that myself, like the Amazon thing is nice and simple because it's like I set stuff up and kind of it takes care of itself, even though it's kind of limiting. Um, like some friends I was working with on like the zombie gunship games. If I think I've shown you all some of those. Like they did merchandise type stuff, but they had like an office manager doing that to where like Shiva was. She'd be going and like picking up shirt orders and sending them out, and, doing this and that, and it seemed like a decent chunk of work. So it's like that's not something that I want to try to take the time to do myself because I already feel like I'm pulled in a lot of directions. Um, but it would be cool to have plushies, yay! So yeah, maybe I mean if there are sites like that, um, yeah, if you want to point me at some, or I can poke around if I have time sometime. But like if there's a good one that other game companies use or something that is more global than the Amazon one, so yeah, go for it. And then I guess the other thing, just I don't know, like thing I've learned is trying to work with companies when possible that are either established or have been around for a little while. Um, it's been kind of an interesting journey. As an indie game developer, I've wound up working with a lot of kind of small companies or startups or whatever, and like startups don't always succeed. So there's a number of cases where I've worked with small startups that sound working on cool stuff, but it just doesn't work out, and so then I have to backtrack on everything that I did, and it's part of me. I feel like I'm getting like curmudgeon or something. It's like no, I only want to work with big companies because they'll probably be around in a year. Um, yeah, if you guys get stores up for eons or anything like that, that's awesome. I'll copy your store. So this is something I've talked about before, like lore. I don't like my philosophy right now is there's not really lore for the characters. The characters are more like actors or something. They're just like a cast of actors that they're blank slates. So if we wanted to add little stories in the game, we wanted to add like a story mode or a single player campaign or something. Like it could be cool to give it a story, but they don't have like they don't come with stories intact. It's I always say like Nintendo. I heard that from Nintendo where it's like they consider their characters to be kind of like actors. Like Mario is doesn't necessarily have a backstory. Like one minute he's trying to save Peach, the next minute he's playing tennis with Bowser. They were just mortal enemies a minute ago. What happened? So it's like they're almost more just like these actors that can appear in different situations. So kind of treating the Bomb Squad characters like that right now, where it's like they don't necessarily have a backstory, but it could be cool to give them backstories for certain things. That was be. I don't know if that's canon. The Duckster people they added that. Very nice. So yeah, so in general, yeah, just to wrap up my status update is yeah, January is going to be kind of like boring month for me in terms of just getting the V1 master server updated. I just spent last I spent the last 2 days like pruning old V1 accounts. Like if there were accounts on there that haven't been played in like 5+ years and had like barely anything unlocked and stuff, I like pruned those. Um, so I wound up pruning, I think like it's like 80 million accounts or something ridiculous, um, which actually should save a lot of money in like database costs because you have to pay for like storage per month and stuff like that. So 80 million accounts was a bit. I'm sure a lot of those are like people who are running servers that like automatically regenerate a new account ID every time the server runs or something like that. So that's another one of those just like stupid V1 V1 account issues where like it's super easy to make new accounts by just like changing your UUID. So bad design decision, and I'm paying for it now by having to delete 80 million accounts. So hopefully nobody really lost any actual account you use, but like I said, I tried to be careful where it only deleted accounts that had like barely anything unlocked and that hadn't been played for like a long time. Printful.com. All right, interesting. Get started. Let's live stream this. Um, cool. Yeah, I can take a look at that. It's tricky though. It goes back to like just kind of priorities in general though. It's like I love all these little things. Like it'd be fun to just take a week and set up a store, set up a better store, I should say. But it's also like it's a week I should be spending on database coding. Cool. Thank you. Yeah, there's lots of people do lots of fun things by changing UUIDs. So that was hopefully, I mean, largely addressed. Hopefully with the V2 accounts, they're a lot more tricky to make. I think I mentioned I added a CAPTCHA to where like if you're hopping on and just trying to make like a fresh Ballistica account or Bomb Squad account or whatever you want to call it. And let me try Firefox here. If I come down here, create a V2 account. Oh, well, okay, not very super CAPTCHA there, but anyway, yeah, you should run into a CAPTCHA if you try to create a new account. So it should at least, and then yeah, you can like the way most people create accounts is just by automatically updating their like Game Center or Google Play Games account or whatever. Like that should just gain V2 features if you play with one of those, but. For the people who make ones manually, it's a bit more work now. More so than just like changing a UUID string, which was a little too easy. Sure, go for it. Feel free to show stuff. In general, you guys don't like have to ask to show stuff. I mean, I appreciate it though too. Ooh. Oh no! Oh, farewell. Is that like a octopusy thing? Like when it's this sprite almost looks like a tooth, but then like when it lands, it looks more octopusy, or like some sort of squishy thing. Very cool though. It'd be fun to make. Like it'd be interesting to make a 2D game. Kind of simpler in a way, but simple is good. Volume on max. Doodle guy. Okay. You just need a fun name for him. He doesn't have to be like a specific thing. Oh, yes, they are all procedurally animated. Bit of trivia: they started out as like being hand animated. My roommate at the time, who he's still an animator at Pixar actually. He did some animations for them in the very first version of Bomb Squad, but he still teases me to this day that I ripped out all of his animations. But yeah, at some point, I switched everything to just be procedural. So everything is just, I wanted to get like ragdoll physics in there for like deaths and stuff. But at some point, I thought like, it could be fun to just like keep the ragdolls on and just like do all the animation with the ragdolls. So that's basically how it works. So it's like ragdolls, and then there's like little springs attached to their arms, and like the spring might have like a sine wave making it go in a circle that makes their arm like do this. So they're basically little puppets getting pulled around by strings. Whoa. Okay, cool. Well, if anyone has any, like, maybe we should just dive into this topic, or anyone have any other, because this might be a bit in depth. Anyone have any other just random updates, questions, or whatever? We can start talking about just like Ballistica nerdy stuff. Could I get the same results with an active? Yeah, possibly. I mean, if you set up a ragdoll system and had like you were animating. I mean, it depends on the dynamic system, but yeah, basically, if you had like animations, I'm sure systems have this kind of stuff where it's like you can have ragdolls that kind of like snap to animated poses, or at least blend between animated poses and ragdoll poses. Um, I mean, which yeah, is basically what Bomb Squad is doing is just yeah, like I said, it's ragdoll. I mean, there's no like fully animated pose. It's more just like animating these goal points. But it's all done with math. Like I didn't actually do any like animations in Maya or anything for that stuff. There used to be like a janky file format called like BAM files.bam, which is Ballistica animation, or I guess Bomb Squad animation back then. But those files are gone now. Make Bomb Squad hilarious. I mean, I wanted them to be funny. That was kind of like the goal of the game is partially to be fun, but partially just to be like stupid and funny. Just when random stuff happens. I made it to play with like big groups of people, and mostly people who had never played the game before. So like the target audience was just people who were just messing around and not really taking it too seriously. Which is why not to get off on another tangent, but it's really interesting to hear about like the pro players and like the people talking about like really kind of in-depth strategy stuff and high skill moves and things like that, because it's like that wasn't I want to support those folks, and I want the game to work well in those situations, but that definitely wasn't like the primary target audience. Ooh. Okay, Mickey, we'll scroll back up to the Ballistica points when we circle back. Cool. Whoop. Oh, geez. Hey, maybe I'll... Yeah, I am loving that. I still do love that like outline style. It just looks like so different. Merchants who scream. Nice. Nice stuff's looking like cleaner in general. I mean, not that it wasn't clean before, but yeah, it's looking, a level of polish. It's getting more level of polish, which is nice. Yes, some of the Chinese characters I did for the one. Yeah, there was like a Chinese version of the game at some point. I mean, there probably maybe will be again, but yeah, it was for like a TV console sort of thing. That's where the Tabao character came from. That everyone's always asking, like, why is he in there? How do I get him? Is he supposed to be there? No, that one's just for like it's just the title for the Chinese version. Oh yeah, emotes for characters. I definitely want to do that. That's definitely a goal for squads mode. Is just to I mean in general my philosophy for squads mode is that basically you should be able to chat with your friends and then just play against random other people, but chat with random other people should not be enabled by default. It'll just be emotes or something like that. um, just so like maybe you can flip it on if you want, but I think by default it'd be good to just have kind of a not having to worry about like toxic chatting people. Just like playing against random people online. Like emotes seems like a nice good way to kind of keep things sane. Circling back for a second for the I'm going to be working on the asset package stuff. That is my definite to-do list for getting 1.8 out the door. I think there's a few other benefits for that. Like basically I'm going to transition all of my internal assets, like the stuff that's built into the game. It's all going to be built through the asset package system. So it'll all be like cloud builds and stuff like that. The cool thing about that is it means that other people should be able to kind of replace that stuff easier, or it'll be a little bit simpler to right now if you want to add an asset to the game, like it's kind of like you just have to mail it to me or email it to me, and then I'll add it and then sync it with the public repo, and it's kind of this mess to where like my own internal copy of the engine has like this asset, like janky old makefile based asset build system. But when that gets synced up to the GitHub repo, it basically bakes all that stuff out onto a server. So it's just this big list of you know compiled assets. Um, so that means that people like messing with the GitHub repo can't really add or remove or modify assets themselves. So this should be improving that situation. So like the whole asset package thing, everyone can make asset packages, and everyone should be able to kind of replace the game's default assets with their own if you want to build your own copy of the game. So I'm also excited about that feature. I think that'll hopefully make modding easier. Talking about like 2D stuff in general, it would be fun to expand on that concept. I mean, there was I mean, it's very cool to be like bombing over it and to see what folks have done. But yeah, I don't know. It'd be interesting to just play with that more. I mean, right now there's just like the game has those few switches. Just it's basically like happy thoughts mode or whatever. You set an attribute on your spaz or on the various nodes, and it just like snaps them to a 2D plane. Um, but I don't know. It'd be fun to like experiment with that more with more nodes or more options or whatever. Do you plan to do collabs when 2.0 hits? Don't know. I mean, that'd be super cool. I really like honestly at this point I don't have any solid plans after 2.0, which that doesn't mean I'm not going to do anything. Of course I'm going to keep working on it, but like right now like my there's just nothing in the to-do list yet. I mean, the world is wide open. Could go anywhere. A lot of things that'd be fun like console versions or collabs or AR versions or whatever. Yeah, it would be interesting just to like run with the 2D idea just to see. I mean, there's probably things that we'd want to get in the engine in a more proper way, just like scrolling terrain and stuff like that, or I don't know, just some other like 2D functionality. Um, as I mentioned, it's pretty limited right now. It's basically what was what was needed for Happy Thoughts. Uh, this is one of those weird things where like I still don't feel like the game is complete. I feel like it's been in soft launch for 10 years. So, uh, yeah, I don't know, which is maybe not a good thing. I don't know. I'm kind of I'm jealous sometimes of like indie developers who are able to like spit out like 2 games a year or 3 games a year or 5 games a year or something where it's like okay, this is my game, ship it, move on to the next one. Um, I am more like, for me, Bomb Squad is less like it's less like making a movie or something where it's like at some point there's an end date and it's done. And for me, it's more like maintaining a theme park. I That's my analogy I always use. So it's kind of like asking the question like, when is Disneyland done, or when is Disney World done? It's like it's not. Like they add stuff, they remove stuff. It keeps the rides keep getting better. Hopefully, some rides break down. Sometimes they go bankrupt. Hopefully that won't happen with Bomb Squad Land, but not. But yeah. So I don't really have a point where I would consider it done. I'd like to think that 2.0 will feel a little bit complete. Like that's sort of like the vision I had for it with the whole net play thing. Because to me, like the net play that's in there now, it feels very tacked on and like half baked and whatever. So I feel my hope is that 2.0 will start to feel like, okay, this is a cohesive product. I mean, I think like the initial release, like 1.0 or 1.1, like that felt for like couch multiplayer, like that felt complete to me. For like, hey, this is a game you can play on the couch with 5 friends. Like it felt complete for that purpose. But I think for the purpose of being like a mobile game or a game you play by yourself online, I feel like I'm hoping 2.0 will feel complete. If that Hopefully that answers your question, kind of. Um, and yeah, going back to this same topic again, like treating it like a live service and not like a single game. Yeah, part of that for me is just, I mentioned this before, is like avoiding the overhead of having to like maintain a bunch of games or releasing a new game and then no one able to run it like 5 years later because everything has moved to a different processor architecture, or it doesn't run anymore on the latest version of Linux or Mac or something like that, or there's a new console out that it was written for the old console. Like I'd rather kind of just have one thing that I like maintain and keep it working and be able to like make mini games within that, or make fun variations of experiences within that, and then I only have like one thing to keep up and running. So I definitely like approaching it that way, where it's like the Ballistica engine is just like my thing. Again, like treating it like an amusement park or like a house. A lot of people have their house and they're always doing something on their house. I'm getting older, so a lot of friends have houses and things, and they're like, "Oh, what are you doing?" Like, "Oh, I'm redoing the kitchen this year," stuff like that. So, like for me, the Bomb Squad engine is like that. It's like, "What are you doing?" "Oh, I'm like redoing the text rendering this year." Yeah, I mean, I'm scared of asset package stuff too. I mean, we will have to be careful with this stuff. I'm going to approach asset packages very conservatively, um, just because it's expensive to store tons of stuff and bandwidth is expensive and all that. So there might be some sort of thing like, if no one has used your asset package in the last 6 months, it will be deleted, or stuff like that, or um, just something to where like the good stuff that people use, like that stuff will stick around, but the other stuff will be either space limited or time limited or something like that. um, Unless it winds up, there's a monetization breakthrough where it's like the stuff starts making enough money where like space is completely irrelevant. Like I always wonder how YouTube works. Speaking of, I mean, like this video is going to go on YouTube tomorrow and be, I don't know how many, it's when I upload it, it's like 50 gigs or it's like this 60 FPS, this high screen res times 2 hours. I mean, it's like a huge file uploading that to YouTube. I'm sure they compress it down, of course, but still, it's just like, man, they are storing so much stuff. I mean, obviously it's profitable. Like YouTube is, apparently very profitable with all the ads and stuff, but it's like, man, how much data are they storing? So if I become like YouTube, then maybe we'll keep all asset packs. Um, But yeah, my plan for now is to be a little stingy with them. And probably I'm thinking for now, because squads mode will have like the new monetization stuff where the servers will hopefully make enough money to sustain themselves using that. But for now, like old servers using asset packs and stuff, there'll probably be some sort of like minor download fee or something like that, or maybe you can download a certain amount per day or something like that. If someone makes an asset pack that's super popular and then like bajillions of people start downloading it, I don't want to put myself in a situation where it's like suddenly I'm paying way more than the game is making for bandwidth and stuff like that. I kind of did something similar for private parties. I don't know how many of you run into this, but I have like a knob I can turn where I can start to charge people to make private parties, just to kind of help to keep the server costs under control. That is definitely a tricky thing. Like monetization stuff in general with like free to play stuff is very tricky. Old version. Yeah, that was like the very very first UI, which kind of looked cool in a way. Like I kind of like the big bomb, and yeah. I think it switched at, I don't remember when it switched, like 1.3, 1.2, something like that. There are some old versions like that available. Like if you go to ballistica.net, go to downloads, follow the link to archives. Let's see what the oldest one we got here. There's BS Remote. There's lots of 1.4 versions for Android. I think that was the first version for Android that came out as 1.4. I think there's some older Mac ones, maybe. Oh yeah, for Mac, we got back to 1.3.15. Decently old. I don't know if that still had the old UI. Wait, is this? It's an old Bomb Squad? Let's see what this is. What have we here? Merp. Maybe that's just SDL. I think that's just maybe my version of like my custom weird version of SDL. Doesn't seem to be Bomb Squad itself. I know that this comes up a lot. This is like I do have older versions of the game around, like the ones before 1.0. 0.6 I think is the oldest one I have somewhere. So it'd be fun to kind of like tidy that up and release that in a buildable way for people. And sanitize it a little bit so I don't get sued. Take out some of the celebrities or whatever. I know. I feel, yeah. Someday we'll do that. Oh, nice to meet you too, Mohammed. Oldest version for Android. I'm curious if I wonder if I have an archive of that around somewhere. Just like the very first Google Play version or something like that, which would have been like 1.4. I don't even remember. Like, did I release 1.4 for Mac first, and then Android like hopped on midway? Because there was like the Ouya version, which was technically Android, and that was 1.4. But then when it actually made like the official debut on Google Play, that was also 1.4. Or maybe the Ouya was 1.3. Oh my gosh. I should have. I feel kind of bad. Like I wish the changelog was older. Like it's kind of cool to like see what I've been up to and stuff. Like there's really old, like the oldest entry down here is 1.4.93. So this was obviously far into Android at this point. Fixed a bug that could cause the Windows version to freeze randomly after a while. Like interesting. Ah, yes, Telnet access. That appeared here. And then it went away later. But Yep, lots of lots of stuff over the years. Then I finally started adding like dates to these entries. I think like this year, so to make it more interesting. The earlier ones, yeah, they didn't have dates up until 1.6 or something. Oh yeah, 1.6.8. Okay. When we added the Filipino language and restored the pre 1.5 jump behavior. Don't remember what that was. It's probably like the spam protection, actually. About merch? No, I didn't. If you want to post it again. I'd scroll up, but then I feel like I always get lost and I forget to scroll back down. First time attending. Well, welcome. I hope you're not underwhelmed. Sometimes we do like gameplay and other fun things like that too. It's yeah, and then sometimes it's just like super dry and technical. This week will be in the middle. ba.pi and underscore ba.pi. They don't exist anymore. So as a 1.7.20, everything there's like ba base and underscore ba base, stuff like that. You have to go back to like 1.7.19 when everything was. To get a Cliff Notes version is on 1.7.19 and earlier, like everything in the game was like smashed together into like the BA module, and the underscore BA module, that's like the native portion of it, like the C++ portion, basically. And 1.7.20, things got split out into multiple modules, which will be good for going forward because that means we can do things like revamp the gameplay and revamp the UI and stuff eventually, but also leave the old ones in there. So like everything kind of got split out into different modules. So that's why it's a bit of a pain in the butt, anyone updating mods to work with 1.7.20, otherwise called API 8, I believe. So it's a bit of a pain in the butt because you have to change a lot of like import BA to like import BA base or import BA scene v1 or stuff like that. But that's the reasoning there is basically just forward progress so we can add new stuff. Has anyone? I'm curious. Has everyone like updated mods for API 8 and stuff? Like gotten over the hump, or people still y'all procrastinating still? I wouldn't blame you if you are. It's a bit of work. I'm just curious. Oh, 1.3.15. Oh, interesting. Yeah, maybe that must have been probably like the Ouya version, which technically was simply an Android version. The Ouya was just like an Android phone slapped into a box. If I know I've shown this a few times before, but yeah, this was the first Android debut of Bomb Squad was for this little Ouya micro console that came out in 2012, 2013. Which at the time I watched a little video of like the history of the Ouya. It's kind of interesting if anyone's interested, but at the time it was I think the second biggest Kickstarter ever behind like the Pebble Watch, and neither of them unfortunately did especially well. But the Ouya was a lot of fun. Okay. All right. So, well, that gives me. Maybe I'll screen. Whoops. 1 second. Oh, I've lost my place. Screenshot of that. Are the like mod managers and stuff? Are those updated for API 8? Are people using those? I feel a little like I should be more like in touch with the modder community. Well, though maybe it's good to not be in a way. I'm just trying to design the system to be good, and hopefully it works well for modders. But the engine for old game version not exist. Save the. I mean, there wasn't like I didn't split Ballistica out into like a GitHub repo or anything like that until version what was it 1.5. So before then, it was funny. I didn't actually know Git for a long time when I was working on this thing. So it was one of those things where I would just like save a zip file of the entire game folder every so often, and that was like my backup. So yeah, there are copies of like the old source code going back to like 0.6, I think, or something like that. They're kind of scattered around like my old backups, though. I just have to like go find them sometime. So, but yeah, it would be interesting to see if it compiles. Like even back then, like when I first started on this, way back in the Stone Ages, I was using SDL and things like that, which are like cross-platform. So I think at the time I was using Linux as my primary computer. So I think and if it was compiling at the time on Linux, it probably is still, it might still build these days. We'd see. We'd have to see. It'd be interesting. I'm curious, is someone like if people are looking for mods, is most stuff still API 7? There's like a wasteland of crap or not crappy, but like abandoned API 7 mods that cause problems for people, or are things kind of with the mod managers and stuff, is it kind of filtered out to where people get stuff that most things people look at will work for one or API 8? Okay. My as I think I mentioned before, I'm hoping that API 8 will be the last API that ever exists. Just because I don't want to, I hate causing that much disruption and like literally forcing everybody to rebuild every mod. Um, so I'm thinking going forward, it should be more nuanced to where there'll probably be more modules appearing like BA Scene V2 or BA UI V2 and things like that. But it should never be something where I have to like flip a switch and force everyone to rewrite their mods. Hopefully, um, and with cloud workspaces, like to get off on a tangent, is like all the asset package stuff is basically going to be built into like workspaces. So workspaces are just going to be like expanded to, right now you can just stuff a bunch of Python files in there, and then that's your workspace. You can download it to your phone or whatever automatically, or sync it to anything running Bomb Squad. But that's going to be expanded to where you can then like drag JPEG files or PNG files or maybe OBJ files or whatever in there and like wire that stuff up with a little JSON file to be like, hey, this is my model. And so workspaces will also be used for assets, and that's how asset packages will work. Originally, I was going to do like a separate thing where like you have like a whole separate UI for building an asset package, but then I decided that like it's recycling like 99% of the logic that workspaces use. So I'm just gonna have like a different type of workspace. Like you flip this workspace into like asset mode or something. But basically that'll be how it works. Why did I start? There was a point I was going to make with all this. Oh yeah. But anyway, workspaces like code-based workspaces. At some point, there's going to be other features there too, like being able to check your code. So run like Pylint or MyPy, things like that, like stuff that I do all the time when I'm coding, which is super useful. So if you haven't experimented with like type-safe Python, I heartily suggest it. At some point when you get really into Python, it just starts being like so nice to save yourself the pain of things breaking and you not realizing it until 2 weeks later when you run it. Like type checking is great. So I want to add type checking to workspaces as an option, to where like if you're writing some mod, it'll just like type check your code for you. Um, and that is my plan for essentially replacing API versions. I don't want to ever increment up to API version 9, but instead I'd like to have workspaces that can like tell you when your code breaks. And so I think that would be like a best of both worlds sort of thing, or it would I can change the APIs and people can like see like, oh, okay, this function changed. I need to change this. So, it can facilitate the game evolving. I mean, I don't want to change too many APIs. My hope is mostly to add them. Like I said, like add BAsine v2 or whatever and keep BAsine v1 the same. But there are always going to be some cases where, some stuff like changes. So I think the type checking and workspaces will hopefully be a way that people can like stay abreast of those changes without having to like flip an ugly switch to like force everyone to rewrite their mods by incrementing to API version 9 or something. Oh, is the American March from 1978? Is that I don't actually know like the history of that march. I just found like a cool sounding march. Is that like is it known for being like an American thing or something like for other people? I didn't I didn't realize that if that's the case. America. Ah, Bicentennial Collection. I mean, I think this is probably like a collection of music. Unless that song was like that march was written for this, but I thought it was just some like well-known march. Glory of the Yankee Navy. So yeah, it's something, an American. Oh yeah, John Philip Sousa. He's a well-known American composer. But it was written a long time ago, like Sousa. Yeah. See, this is not 1978. Look at that dude. More like 1798, maybe. When was he writing stuff? Yeah, he died in 1932. So see, he wasn't writing in 1978. But I do, on that note, I do, like when squads mode comes around, I do see that as a good opportunity to kind of have a different menu music or menu in general. Like squads mode will probably look like a different game, basically. Probably when you flip into like classic mode, it'll probably take you back with the same music and, the same classic bomb squad with John Philip Sousa that you know and love. But yeah, I'm debating like what would make good menu music, because part of me feels like the like upbeat march on the menu music, I'd almost want something like a little slower or something, like a little, like it'd be interesting. What do you guys feel like? Do you want like upbeat, crazy, loud menu music, or do you feel like menu music should be like chill and then like the music gets more intense when you get into the game? I feel like if I did a different game, like which could be fun, again like Bomb Squad or Ballistica, like it's kind of I consider it as like a cast of characters that could do different games with. So I feel like if there was a different game, it could have a different mood and like a different style of music. It could be like some crazy techno style or something. I don't know. Just like taking some characters and do like variations of them and having like all the music be a different style. Um, but yeah, for OG Bomb Squad, the style is kind of just like classical music. I was kind of inspired by the old Looney Tunes cartoons, like Bugs Bunny and all like the original cartoons of that. There was always just like some classical or opera music in the background. I just thought that was like a funny mix. I'm a boomer. Is that a term now? Like boomer? If you say like I'm a boomer, like is that a term to just describe someone who's like old or resistant to change? But yeah, I do. That is my goal. Like with classic, I'm gonna start calling it classic more. Like Bomb Squad Classic is. I do want to keep like the classic menu, the classic music. Like I want to change as little as possible about like OG Bomb Squad. There'll just be like squads mode, which becomes a separate thing, and you'll be able to flip back and forth. And 2.0 will basically just be when squads mode gets good enough to become the default. Like that's kind of like if you want to sum it up in as few words as possible. Like that's what the plan for 2.0 is. Like when squads mode can take over. But yeah, stuff like that, like it could be fun. Like I said, it'd be great to compartmentalize that or something if you're making like a custom league or a custom mod or a total conversion or something. Or Mickey Rock here, like and Sock, like those guys have done great with like completely changing the style and the themes and whatever, kind of embracing other styles. So yeah, I'm all for that stuff. Just in terms of like the core game, I'll probably keep it consistent with what it's been. Even for squads mode, it'll probably still have like that same overall feel, kind of classic Bomb Squad. It was interesting. My old roommate I talked about, Raf Suter, the animator at Pixar. He also like he made a bunch of like electronic music and stuff. And so originally like he made this like a score for the game too, which was much more like computery electronic sounding, which was kind of cool. I should I could bust that out again maybe for some weird spin-offy thing where it fits more. Ridiculon. Okay. I'm gonna screenshot that too. I need to make a little folder of like things I need to remember. Servers that have Smash mode. What is Smash mode? I feel like I should know this. What? Well, I would like to, even keeping with the classic music and stuff like that. Like, I should take a pass through and see if there's some better quality versions of some of the songs the game uses and things like that. I mean, it has been. Well, Mac version came out in 2011, so it's been what like 12 or 13 years now. So there's probably some better stuff on the internet now. I do notice, like when I play the game on my TV or something like that, where it's kind of like it definitely, some of the low res textures or the quality of the music, things like that, definitely stand out to me more now. Like, oh, that should be cranked up a bit, a lot more than they did, 12 years ago on a crappier TV or a smaller screen or whatever. Not that I have an amazing TV. I don't even have a sound bar. I'm just using like the built-in speakers, so I'm super lame, but still. There was at some point, yeah, like YouTube came out with a bunch of like free to use classical music. Like the license said, like you can use it for your own movies and games and stuff like that. And so yeah, I think I grabbed a few things from there. Maybe there's more stuff like that now. The one that I'd love to find a better copy of is When Johnny Comes Marching Home, I believe it's called. The runaround. Like that one. I actually licensed some royalty free thing from some site, but it's like some synthy sort of thing. It doesn't quite fit. I mean, it sounds all right, but I have like just a Apple Music. I can go and like play a really cool version of that song. It's all orchestral and stuff. It's like, oh man, I wish I could have that in the game. Yeah, no, I love that. It's a fun song. Has anyone, on a random side note, is anyone using the custom soundtracks on Android? I have not tested that stuff in a while. I'm curious, is it still working? uh, I wired it up, a long time ago, so you can play custom MP3s and things like that. But yeah, like with all the kind of major plumbing changes I made recently, like I haven't actually tested that to make sure it's still behaving itself. So I was kind of curious. I should put that on my to-do list if not. I do like Runaround. It'd be fun to have more like Runaround maps or more like variations, stuff like that. Ah, so many fun things to do. But yeah, that's why going back to my plan for this month is once I get the boring server stuff done, is then yeah, I definitely want to make a beeline for asset packs because I think that should basically let us. It should basically let me add new maps like really easily. I'm not sure about characters, but at least like new maps. So that'd be fun to just, if nothing else, just add some like slight variations on existing maps or something like that. Just something to kind of like test the system. To where I'm thinking it'll probably be something where like I'll have to release a new version of the game like with that custom map included, but then anyone else who plays with that version will automatically download it. So something like that. Um, yeah, I feel like Runaround itself could like evolve into a just a more complete game. 1.8 be released. That is up in the air. But like I said, I have really boring server stuff to get done this month or sometime this month. I'm probably gonna like spend half the month working on 1.8 though, just because I'm very excited by having this like finally concrete to do list. Um, so I'm really optimistic in the next 2 months, maybe. We'll see. Things always take longer than I think, but sometimes things take shorter than I think. But it is finally starting to be like there's a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel on the 1.8 stuff. Um, the main thing, as I mentioned, not to be redundant, but like what I do a lot of times these days is just go through and like really plan things out a decent amount, just before I start working. I feel like that's different from how I used to work. I used to be just like I'd dive in and just start coding and like it would just turn into like spaghetti code. It would work, but it wouldn't ever really be planned. Whereas now I feel like I'm more like, okay, I'm just gonna like pace in my living room for a day and just like ask myself questions about like, okay, so if this part does this, then how do we structure this part? And I feel like that saves, or it helps me come up with something that is much more like maintainable. Um, so anyway, so I have that done for this last bit with 1.8. I feel like I've answered all the questions I asked for myself. Just like, how is this going to work? Like, okay, so when someone downloads an asset pack, where does it go? And what happens if they wipe their hard drive? And like, does it re-download or do they have to like like all these questions I feel like I have answers to. So now it's just a matter of sitting down and doing it, which is, that takes time, but it's nice to like not have it be this question anymore.
Watch sports with live TV like cable. With YouTube TV, try it free. Terms apply. Cancel anytime.
Consider that New Year's resolutions are not the answer for you this year. You need real solutions. And
I do love video game music. Mickey Rock and I were talking about music a while back, but yeah, like half the time when I'm working, I'll just like listen to old video game soundtracks. I don't know. I feel like they work well in the background because that's literally what they're designed to do. This is very chill. But I do have times like when I launch Bomb Squad when I'm testing stuff and it just like hits me with that March music on the main menu and I'm just like, not now, Bomb Squad. Like, shut up, quiet down. So like that, maybe it's because I'm launching the game a lot more than the average person would be, but it's almost like the loudness catches me more than it used to. Or it's because I'm getting old and my hearing's probably, I don't know. But yeah, out of the original stuff I built, I maybe had the most fun with Runaround in terms of just like, I'd say in single player, I maybe had the most fun with Runaround. Multiplayer is a different beast, but yeah, I feel like there's definitely some fun challenges there. So that's cool. I like that. Rocky orchestral jazz. That's a good question. I don't know. That would be interesting if someone wants to make like a video, just like throw some Bomb Squad gameplay with like a completely different style of music in the background. Like it would be interesting to see like what works. I know we were talking about this a while back. I still have this like vision of a chainsaw power up, and whenever you pick up the chainsaw power up, it just switches to like some hardcore metal, like until you lose the chainsaw, and then it goes back to like happy, chill music. Just like becomes like a slasher movie for like 30 seconds. Well, Mickey Rock, it's getting time's getting a bit late. Do you want to hop on? We can chat about Ballistica technical stuff, or do you want to repost your list? Cool, cool. All right, we're gonna get a little more chat a bit more about like Ballistica, just like what it could use to be more usable for modders and things like that. So this might get a little slight dry technical warning for folks. Why don't I advertise BS? So that's I mentioned this a few weeks ago, but it's basically I am very fortunate the game gets, to summarize, I'm very fortunate the game gets a ton of downloads, but to make advertising effective, like you have to make a certain amount of money per person who downloads the game. And Bomb Squad makes nowhere near that. It makes like very, very, very little per person, which is fine because I'm very fortunate and tons of people download the game. But it monetarily, like buying advertising just wouldn't make sense for me right now. So knock on wood, hopefully people will keep downloading the game. Whatever magic that causes a good amount of people on Google Play to download the game every day. Hopefully it will continue. I'm just in a screenshot mode today. I'm going to go ahead and... Oh, geez, what have I done? One second, I gotta go find where that went. New backup. Burp, burp. Okay. There. I can keep that on screen without monopolizing chat. Oh yeah, that's a bummer. Yeah, again, this whole thing goes back to why I'd prefer for squads mode to have emotes be the only thing you can do to enemies, basically. Unless there's an opt-in, like, yeah, I really want to chat with these random people I'm playing against. But I know, like, I feel that way if I'm playing multiplayer against random people online. Like, I don't want to hear what they have to say, If, like, that's... Yeah. Maybe some people enjoy that, but yeah, like I'm more just like, yeah, I'm here to play. I want to talk to my friends, if anything. Yeah, it will. I mean, my initial version for squads mode is like the chat will just by default, it'll be kind of a merged like chat party or squad window or something. It'll just show like, hey, these are the people that are with you right now, and you can chat with them. So yeah, if there was like a game chat with the random people you're playing against, like maybe that would be a separate tab or something like that. But I think for the MVP, the minimum viable product, I feel like it will just be squad chat. So yeah, and I hate that. I hate that I hear about like toxic stuff sometimes. I don't want the game to like have a reputation for being toxic or anything. Games are supposed to be happy and fun. Um, that does make me wonder, not to get off on other tangents, but if we want to have some sort of, because I'll probably have to revisit the public server list at some point when we do downloadable assets, maybe like flag ones that have downloadable assets or something like that. Or maybe not flag them, but it just got me thinking like what would be good improvements there. Or maybe like when you join a server, it'll like pop up a little window first saying like, oh, you need to download this stuff to join the server. Like that'll cost 5 tickets, like proceed, something like that. But it gets me thinking like what other stuff would be good for managing public server lists, and you know, ideas like having moderators here be able to, you know, downvote public servers or something, or you know, if there's really toxic ones, having people be able to like hide those or downvote it, and downvoted ones just get hidden after a while, or you know, like is there something that would be useful in public server land for people, like just in the list or being able to like flag stuff? Yeah, that's cool. I feel like I could see this fitting, you know, if like the whole game was like that, or you know, if all the, I could definitely see that being like an alternate style, like that kind of upbeat, jazzy. So yeah, I mean that was kind of intense. So yeah, boss fights or something where not all the time. That's another thing I find myself thinking of more too, is more like a little bit of contrast for maybe for squads mode, having like, you know, again, just like having maybe the menu music toned down a little bit, or you know, music between rounds being a little bit more chill or whatever, just to really pump up the contrast, like between gameplay and you know, just getting into gameplay, things like that. But yeah, in terms of moderation, like, let's see. So what are we saying? Like a channel on here? I mean, there's something I'd love to get going with in general, is just to start to have like in-game moderators, you know, just flag some accounts, you know, probably like mods on here or people. Yeah, just figuring out that system to get started with, like who should have powers to, you know, shut down bad servers, or, you know, flag people as hackers or whatever. Yeah, I feel like the usual suspects on here. Like you guys know who you are. Like anyone who's been, you know, invested in the game and active on here. Like I'd love to make you guys moderators. It's kind of like a question of like, how do we? I mean, same question. Like, you know, the server, you guys do a great job running it and managing moderators and all that stuff. So it'd just be like how to expand that to like the game in a smart way. Like who would be mods in the game, or can they appoint other mods, or do people like lose their mod, you know, powers after they go idle for a year, or you know, like how should this work, or like what does it take to you know, get like a server banned from the server list? Is like X number of mod votes, or any moderator could do that, or like what would be a, you know, all these questions. Yeah, it does. I don't know. It's tricky to know how to do all this like moderation type stuff, or like punishment, or you know, just managing toxic players. You know, it's like you hear about different things different games do. I know I've heard about like games that'll, put all the toxic players together on one server or something like that, just to, like now they can deal with each other. So yeah, maybe something like that. Just having mods be able to flag people on servers. It's a little scary too, like if you did like a public voting thing where like people could downvote servers or something, because then you can start to get into weird like campaigns that people are just like getting all their friends to downvote someone's server for nefarious reasons or whatever, or writing bots to do it and stuff. So it's like some of that gets a little bit hairy. So as long as we'd have a system for coming up with like who's a moderator and who can become a moderator and like how that whole system works, like maybe that would be reasonable. All right, Mickey Rock, I'm going to start looking through this here. I mean, some of these I can answer here, but yeah, I mean, I feel like your point is more so that like it probably should be answered in the source code or documentation or whatever. That is always like the tale as old as time, is that things are never as well documented as they should be. And for me, it's always a balance of like, oh, like in my mind, it's always like I should write a tutorial for this or I should document this. Like, oh, after I clean it up, like once I get it to this 2.0 version that then that'll be the time to document it. So it's always this balance of like, oh yeah, I should document it, but like, oh, but the documentation will have to be rewritten, so I shouldn't yet. Well, certain things like this are like not being able. Like I've got Visual Studio Community on my machine, so it does somehow work with that. But it'd be great to like, I don't know, like smooth this out somehow. Like if, walk through that with me or something like that. If you're like exactly what you run into when you're doing Visual Studio Community, and see if we can improve that in some way. Cause yeah, some of this stuff is just, it's one of those like, oh, it works on my end sort of things. But it's like, I don't realize like probably the average person's setup, maybe it doesn't work for 90% of people, and that's not ideal. There's some things where it's like, that's been good with GitHub, with like the CI is basically, setting up things so that they work in the CI setup there, which is, it's kind of a standard set, though I know they're like Visual Studio is Enterprise, I believe. But it should still work with community. So like we should do something about that. Can only compile with pre-built scripts. And yeah, that is something I mean, at some point you can, fork the repo and just like hack the list of scripts or whatever to be your own. But at that point you're dealing with kind of a hard fork, and that's not ideal. So I do have like an idea for how something like that would work, and I do one of these days want to basically fork off a different repo for like the Bomb Squad remote, or like another project that will be based on Ballistica, but it'll have a slightly different set of stuff, and just kind of use that as an example for people to show how that would be set up, or how like Spinoff would work there. And there's probably some bumps and some problems I'll run into that'll need to be fixed. So I would say for now, if you really want, you can do most anything for now. It's just like it might be ugly. In terms of like what mechanics and features are off limits to proprietary, there shouldn't be much. Like it's basically just that module of, like essentially everything is fully open source outside of Plus, and Plus really only deals with like talking to the master server and like accounts and purchases and stuff like that. So it, like the gameplay parts of it really shouldn't touch Plus. It's just kind of like, oh, which dudes do I have unlocked, and which. So it should theoretically, like technically right now, you could build I think a pretty fully functional game without Plus in there. Like you'd have to like fix a lot of places in code where it assumes Plus exists, but if those places were fixed to where like it gracefully handles Plus not being there, I think you could make like a full single player Bomb Squad campaign that didn't have Plus. It just did its own thing. So there shouldn't be too much that is, dependent on closed source stuff at this point. The other big thing is assets. So as I mentioned, like compiled textures and all that, that's a bit of a pain right now because basically my private repo bakes all those out onto my server, and then the public repo downloads that. But you obviously anyone who's modded assets, has figured out how to kind of work around that. My hope is it'll become easier to work around with the asset package stuff, which should be coming up, in this next month or two. It should hopefully be a lot simpler to basically just like download the public repo, replace the default assets with your own complete copy of them or whatever. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I know there's a lot of this is just complete lack of documentation. So it's and if anyone wants to like add docs or like a wiki page, or like if you're exploring something, if you want to add something to the wiki, just like, oh hey, I'm going to try to take this and hack something into it, or make a little weird spin-off project or something, and like document your journey of exploration. I mean, I'd be happy to hopefully fill in missing bits of info, or at least guide you to get where you're trying to go or something. Let's see. Hints on forward. There should be stuff on code forwarding, like in terms of like indentation and like conventions like that. There should be some stuff mentioned on the wiki, or like if you set things up with the like the tutorial about how to get things set up so you can run like makes and stuff like that. If you do like make format, like that runs standard code formatting, if that's what you're talking about. Okay. Well, that's something we should improve then, or whatever. I mean, for me, it's like the way it works. Ballistica internal, make format full. Like this will run, like that's ran through, and that just like formatted every file in there with the, like black for Python code formatting and Clang format, I think, for the C++ stuff. So yeah, so I don't like at this point, which I love. I like never think about formatting at all. I just like write code and then run that stuff every now and then, and it just formats it. So it'd be great for, if people are able to use that, or if we can fix it so people can use that if they want. Or again, that stuff's on the wiki. So if there's, or even if you just want to like flag that and be like, this sucks, please elaborate. Including custom assets in the compilation pipeline. Like I said, I'm hoping that the asset package download stuff will address this in the upcoming month or two. Because I want to, like I said, I want to change my own asset pipeline from my janky 15-year-old Makefile to using the online asset package stuff. So yeah, so my hope is that will translate to the public repo and modders and stuff too. Yeah, so this will be, there's going to be two, I'm going to have to adapt it. I mean, I'm going to use the asset packages for the built-in stuff. So not everything will be an asset package. So my plan there is to, you'll be able to set up a workspace with your assets. You'll be able to, create an asset package out of that, which will basically just be like a hash, be like, hey, There'll be some magic that says like download and use this package as needed. So that's one use. But the second is there should be some way to just like compile all that stuff and download it into a folder essentially. And so that's what like my pipeline will use for all the like the bundled stuff, like the UI images and everything that like needs to be present at all times in the game. Like it should still come from an asset workspace online. So that's the part that I hope other people can take advantage of, is like if you want to do a total conversion or, you know, just replace all the Bomb Squad assets with modified versions or whatever, like my hope is that essentially it'll just be, instead of pointing towards my asset package workspace, you'll point towards one of your own that can just be like spun off of mine or created by hand or whatever. So like I said, it should be kind of two routes to get assets out of an asset workspace. One is like the downloadable packages. Two is like, hey, just give me all the build stuff. What is my favorite mod? Oh my gosh. I feel like I can't say that. I mean, well, like, I don't feel like I have a answer to that, because there are like so many awesome mods. But even if I did have an answer, like I feel like I wouldn't say, or I shouldn't say, because it's like, you know, a parent is not supposed to say which kid is their favorite. So. But yeah, my hope is it would work for this too, like base game assets that you want to exclude. My hope is, for my own sanity, is my hope though would be like one place in the make file or something like that, or, you know, or the project config or something where it's basically saying like, these are the default assets for the game, like pointing to an asset workspace. And so then you should be able to just like swap that out with another one and have a completely different set of assets for the game. So, because yeah, that's another, it's definitely a problem I need to solve. Again, for my, you know, making a Bomb Squad remote using the Ballistica engine, that would obviously need to be solved, because I don't want to ship all the Bomb Squad assets for BS remote. That would make no sense. Not that there's a, you know, Bomb Squad's still only like 60 megs or something. It's not a huge game, but still, I'd rather keep Bomb Squad remote like 5 megs. So I think it probably won't be like a list to exclude. It'll basically just be like you're pointing at a workspace that contains all the assets you want to include, you know. So it'll just be like, I mean, I guess we could do like an overlay or something, basically saying like, yeah, use the default ones, but rip these ones out. You know, maybe that would be worth having, instead of, you know, having to like duplicate the default workspace and removing most everything. Because yeah, some sort of overlay, because there would be upsides to that, where like if you want to add your own few in or remove some, then you would still like pick up changes to the default set. You wouldn't have to like keep everything in sync. So yeah, something to think about. What do you think about the Spanish speaking community? I mean, it's awesome, like how many Spanish speakers are playing the game. Like the game has a huge following in South America. I'm always I think I've shown this before. Like just looking at the map, we can check for submarines while we're in here. But okay, prod fleet. Like you can see like how many people are playing in, you know, Central and South America right now, versus here in the U.S. there's like 10. So I love you, Spanish speakers. Thank you for playing. I guess there's some Spanish speakers over here too, but yeah, lots of folks down south. Like I mentioned, I think some of that is due to the fact that the game's only on Android, and I think Android is much more popular in a lot of those countries than like in the US. I think it's like 50-50 iPhone, Android, or maybe even more skewed. Maybe it's like 60-40 iPhone. So there's a lot fewer Android people here, unfortunately. So maybe that will even out when 2.0 hits and we launch on iOS. But yes, thank you for playing. Okay, so creating server builds not joinable from Bomb Squad. Oh yeah. Right now you would have to do like some hacky thing or whatever. Like if you were actually like maybe I mean, all that part is open source. The stuff where it sends out a package to be like, hey, are you a Bomb Squad game? And then it sends the response. Like, you would just have to change that. Like have it send a different magic number, or have it host by default on a different port or something like that. So that would be doable. Yeah, it would just be a little bit of manual work right now. I am for squads mode, I am taking that into account from the start though. I want to have like basically different, I'm just calling it experiences. Like I'm having this little thing where like you can define like what experience this is. So it'll be like a bomb squad experience, or you might flip to a different, this would be like, oh, this is a bomb squad AR experience, or this is a such and such mod experience, if you want, which would basically keep all the games of that type separated from all the other game types. So, I want to kind of, for squads mode, I want to have that be thought of, at the beginning, so we don't have to like tack it on later. But if you're doing that with the existing network code, you just have to tack it on later. This being later. So like I said, you just have to like change, like, oh, it sends out this ping, and change the response. Be like, oh, this is regular bomb squad. I don't want to play with you. Are you from San Francisco? I am from Illinois originally, so like right in the middle of the U.S. I've lived in San Francisco for most of my life. I moved out there when I was 18, went to art school, and I stayed. I'm currently in Southern California, so I'm in LA, or Santa Monica specifically. I'm near LA right now, but that's temporary. I'll probably be heading back to San Francisco in the next year or so, something like that. I love San Francisco. Easier to make custom executables with icons that don't trigger antivirus software. I need to figure that. Like, this is super annoying. Bomb Squad for Windows is always triggering antivirus stuff. I'm curious if it's maybe the bomb icon has something to do with it. But yeah, I need to start rolling out a test build on Steam at some point, and as part of that, I need to figure out how to, I don't know if I need to like contact antivirus people to like whitelist the app or something. Because there are always, and I'm 99.99% sure there are always false positives, because no matter how I build the build, if it's on like a freshly formatted build server where I send the source code over and build it, or if it's on my own my own build machine at home, like there's always these like, it always gets detected as malware, the Windows builds. So yeah, I need to get to the bottom of that. I mean, I assume like I've never run into any actual problems running Windows builds, so I can't think of if there's some library that I'm using that could have malware in it or something like that. But I wouldn't think so. Most everything in the game is built from source code. There's a few things that are just like SDL libraries or Python libraries that are downloaded from their respective locations. So there's really nothing in there that could be that could be malware, unless somebody has like magically infected my Visual Studio on my build machine and my home machine and everywhere else in a very undetectable way, but that seems very unlikely. So yeah, that is definitely like that is a problem I need to figure out how to solve. Cool. Well, I will, yeah, definitely, keep giving me feedback on things that could be improved. I will, stuff like this is super useful. And I will keep slowly but surely trying to move things to a more, friendly place. I do think a lot, I mean, my big goal, and I guess this is almost a post 2.0 goal, but my long-term goal is to make the physics stuff a lot more friendly and just fun to play with. I mean, that's kind of like why I got into this stuff. I just love physics simulations and stuff so much. That's how it was like my favorite thing at Pixar, and I spent a ton of time like writing a physics simulation set up there, and I just want to like make something better in the Bomb Squad or Ballistica framework and just see the cool stuff people could build out of that. Like to me, it's amazing like what everyone's done with like the very simple controls that I've exposed in Bomb Squad. So like, yeah, I'd love to see what can happen if it's built in a better way. So oh yeah, I'll keep working towards that. It might be Scene V2 or Scene V3 or Scene V45 or something. Who knows when it'll get to the place I want it to get, or if it'll ever get there. But the motto I always hear is you can never achieve perfection, but if you aim for perfection, you can achieve greatness, which I totally think is true. So it's like it's more of like a philosophy or a target than an actual realistic end point. Yes, this is definitely on the, as I mentioned, like one thing I want to do, hopefully somewhat sooner rather than later, because like the Bomb Squad remote app is so ugly for both Android and iOS, and the iOS one is way out of date. It runs on like a small subsection of your screen. The last one got rejected for technical reasons, so it's even more out of date because of that. But yeah, that would be a perfect opportunity, I think, to like take the whole Ballistica spin-off thing, like rip 99% of the stuff out of Bomb Squad, make a little remote app out of it, and like replace both of those with like a Ballistica based ones. So that would, and it would also like be a good dog food opportunity. So it would be something that like uses the engine for a different purpose, and a good like first example of how to do that. I would never. I think when I first got into coding, I was thinking like, oh, I'll write a game engine, but I didn't realize like you can't just write an engine for something. Like you have to kind of just like write a game, or you have to do something with the engine. You have to kind of, because I feel like there's so many little things you don't think of or problems you run into. So I feel like that dog fooding concept is super important. So that's why for the whole spin-off thing, or using this stuff for non-Bomb Squad purposes thing, like I really need to just dog food something and make the remote app or something small like that. Then I am always getting requests for more languages. That's another thing on the infinite to-do list, is a smarter language editor thing. One thing that happens a decent amount is people will send in like submit edits for a language, but like I'm not quite sure, like is this actually better or worse? Like they change the wording a little bit, and then someone will submit another one later that like changes it back, or just maybe changes a little bit more, and so it's like I have no way to know like which of these is better. So it'd be great to have like a voting system or something, like these are the last 3 people that submitted this language value, like which of these do you like? Yeah, people could start voting or something. I don't know. There's certainly improvements that could be made, I guess is all I'm saying. One thing I haven't brought up in a while is right now the Ballistica site, for like mucking with your account and all that, is English only. Like I haven't even tried to like translate this. So like account settings, and there's starting to be more stuff, in the game. It just like kicks you over to this site if you want to do like login linking and stuff like that. Is this a problem for people? Like like you Spanish speakers out there, like are you, do English only websites cause problems, or is like Chrome's auto translate make it okay at this point? Like is that something I should be worried about, I guess is my question. Okay. I mean, I guess maybe you folks are the wrong people to ask, because you're here listening to me talk in English, so obviously you're somewhat fluent in English. I'd be curious, like, do you folks, I don't know, if you know people that don't speak English or something, I'd be curious if that's a problem for people. Because that's another thing I could work on, is like trying to get the translation system set up so it would apply to like the website and stuff too. So things like this could get translated, or if that's not necessary, because usually things can do that for you. So going back to stuff like this, like physics tick rate, things like that. Yeah, that stuff is basically hard coded in there somewhere. Yeah, that would be like I would love to expose that in, you know, CMV2 or later. Make some of that stuff configurable, because I feel like there's certain physicsy things where you'd want, you know, a ton of accuracy, and some where like you don't need as much. So might as well save some CPU cycles. I don't want to have variable ones though. I think that's a bad idea. I don't know if games ever do that, but like variable step sizes, ugh, totally breaks all your physics. Okay, cool. Glitch makes you get stuck on the floor. Yeah, it's like basically impossible to. I mean, if there's like one particular place on a map where you get stuck all the time or something, then yeah, please point that out. But in general, with like an open-ended physicsy sort of thing, it's like there's always going to be weird, random, fluky things that cause you to get your head stuck in a wall, or, you know, get your torso sphere stuck under the floor and your head sphere above it. So like you wind up just getting wedged in the floor or something. It's like, I don't think of them as bugs. I think of them as like things that just happen, and, you know, we try to keep it so they happen as little as possible. But it's not something where it's like it's fixed, not fixed. You know, I would consider something a bug if it's happening like constantly. But if it's just something that happens randomly, like I don't think we'd ever be able to like fully prevent that, unfortunately. I mean, we can just, you know, try to account for it. So, you know, hopefully you can always pick up a bomb and end yourself or whatever when that happens. Currently use Cheat Engine. What? Cheat Engine. Is that just like a Android app or something? Or, I mean, it's not too hard to mess with the game's speed sometimes with, you know, just messing with Python even. Though it shouldn't be too, I mean, hopefully it's not too easy for like tournaments and things like that. Oh, okay. In this case, I should maybe write that down there somewhere. It's, I believe it's 120. So, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I think originally it was like 60 way back in the day, but then I upped it to 120. I'm trying to think where that shows up in code. It might be. Oh, here it is. Yeah. So CMV1.h, game step milliseconds. So 1,000 divided by 8, you get, 125. Huh? Okay, so yeah, 125-ish. Yeah, there's definitely different options we can use for maps. I mean, right now it's using basically what's called tri-mesh collisions in Open Dynamics Engine, which is a super old engine. So yeah, essentially each triangle acts as, you know, like an infinitely thin plane. So, you know, if something, unfortunately, that means if like something steps, like if it steps through the plane in one step, it will never collide with it, which is a bummer. So I'm not sure if there's anything in Open Dynamics Engine we could do to actually give those some depth. I mean, we could manually like start adding boxes and like volume things to that to kind of fill it in. There's other collider types, like we could do like a height field or something, but then that removes the ability to like go under things. Or there's also, at some point I want to, maybe for CMV2 or maybe in the future, I want to incorporate like a newer physics engine. Because the Open Dynamics Engine thing I've been using for so long, that code base is basically dead, which in a way is kind of nice because it doesn't change and it, like, I know it quite well. But the downside is it's not getting fancier features like convex holes and, you know, better collisions and stuff like that. So it'd be cool to, I was looking around at like Jolt Physics, which is another open source one. Like maybe experimenting with that. Bullet has been a big one for a long time. I don't know how active Bullet is these days, though. This one is, yeah, 2 days ago, still very active. So my hope is maybe to compile like a second physics engine in there alongside the old ODE stuff. So like the old stuff could continue to use like the classic stuff, but then any new like Scene V2 could maybe use a different, or Scene V3 or whatever we are at that point, could start using a different physics engine under the hood. Could be kind of fun. Yeah, it's funny. I started working with Open Dynamics Engine, like, which is, I think that was like the first open source rigid body system back in 2004 or something like that is when it came out. Because back in school, when I was in art school, I just wanted to experiment with basically doing animation like with ragdolls, like in Maya and stuff like that. So using physics systems to just like move characters around just for animation purposes, not even for like gameplay purposes. And so I was messing with rigid bodies in Maya, but then trying to get those like doing exactly what I wanted was such a pain, because it's like they don't really tell you, it's closed source, they don't tell you details of the simulator, things like that, and I just hated working with that type system, because it's like it'd have weird little quirks, and I would just have to try to work around them. It's just all black boxy and stuff like that. So then I started working with like Open Dynamics Engine and just open source stuff in general, and like it was so nice just being able to poke under the hood and like add print statements and get down and dirty and take things apart and see exactly how they worked. So like that was super useful to me. So yeah, the point I'm making is like it's such a bummer to work with like physics things that are like black boxed and mysterious, I feel. I mean, you can get stuff done, but I feel like if you really want to do something specific, like it's really nice to be able to know exactly what's happening and like why is this sinking through the floor in this case. Like I want to be able to like go down and see like why is the collision detection between this triangle and this triangle like not working. So it's nice to be able to kind of dig in sometimes. Uh-oh, finding bugs. Oh no. Oh, that's another kind of quirk of this system, is basically like all the triangle meshes behave as, like I said, infinitely thin triangles, but they basically exert like a one-way force. So I think there's probably not any collision. I imagine there's no bottoms to these that are actually like collidable. So probably if you like shove the flag up there, you're probably just able to like shove it right up to the top, which then like pushes it out the top. So that one might actually be fixable. It would just be like adding collision meshes on the bottom of these things if they don't have them currently. But if they are there already and somehow like, because there is the possibility that there are those collisions there, but then like Spaz, like the force of his hands, like overcome the force of the collision on the bottom or something. So in cases like that, it's like the physics engine is like doing what it's designed to do. It like balances those two things. So in that case, it might not be possible to totally fix it. But I imagine if it is a very reproducible thing, it probably would be possible to fix. But yeah, that does make, like, is that exploitable? Or like, do people use that in games to just like shove the flag up to the other, like, for returning it? Whoa. Oh, this is the same one? Oh, so bad. It's impressive to pull that off, though. Oh, okay, maybe that would be worth fixing. I should dig into my pipeline. Like, my pipeline is not actually operational. So, like, I can't... Well, it might be. I probably just have to tinker with it a little bit. So, being able to, like, open that file in Maya and moving polygons around and stuff like that. Like, I haven't actually done that in a little while, so I need to probably get that up and running again. But because I'm in the process of moving all that stuff to asset packages and asset workspaces and cloud stuff, I probably should just do that first and then maybe fix it after that. I just sent the same video. All right, well, we are just about out of time. It is 11 already, so it's been 2 hours. So anyone have any last thoughts, comments, questions, complaints? Otherwise, we should probably call it for the day, and I'll get back to my boring server programming. Woohoo! 1.8 when? I never give dates because, I really don't know, but my hope is that if this asset package stuff comes together decently quickly, maybe this spring, next few months, maybe February could be cool. Maybe like test builds out in February. We'll see. I'd love to get, I'm hoping to treat it like a MVP again. There's that term again, minimum viable product. Like get something out where, you can run a server and people will download, people running 1.8.0 can join that server and download some textures and meshes automatically from that server. So like that's kind of the point I want to get to. And then there's still some features on top of that, like adding, like instead of like maps, being able to download characters or something. Characters are tricky though, because like if you're hosting a server and then somebody joins your server, that basically means that like they're potentially bringing new characters themselves. So it's like, it's not up to the server, or well, yeah, depending on how it's set up, but the server would then need to have downloadable assets for like any new character that people have or something. So that needs to have some more thought put into it, but it should be possible to just have a server that has some maps that are downloadable, that people can just join the server and magically download the maps and play them. So that's kind of where I want to get to for 1.8. So hopefully just a few months. Did really work? Yes, I did. So I'll show you one of my favorite shots here that I worked on while I was at Pixar is, have you seen Up? This shot where these guys, like all these balloons are coming up from behind the house. So here's some of the sketches the director made for me of like what that shot should look like, and then there's the final shot. So that was one of my dearly beloved little shots I did. So that was all physics stuff. That was actually shared a lot of code with early versions of Bomb Squad, that little tool that I built to do those balloons. So just a lot more spheres than Bomb Squad. We had to do tests for like 50,000 balloons, I think. Like that was the number we were aiming for. People were doing like math to see like how many balloons would it actually take to lift a house. And I think it turns out you can't actually lift a house because each balloon like has a string, and the string would actually be heavier than the balloon. So like each balloon would not actually lift anything. So if you had like a net containing 50,000 balloons, like if you did it the right way, you could maybe pull it off, but it was something like 2 million balloons you'd need or something ridiculous. So, it's animation. We could exaggerate a little bit. Well, it is, Up was using, like I said, like early physics stuff I was doing, Open Dynamics engine. So the same thing that is still built into Bomb Squad, like the low-level physicsy stuff, is the same thing that was powering those balloons. So they share some common ancestry. And then, we use that same stuff for a lot of like Toy Story 3. If you see like the trash in Toy Story 3, a lot of like physics simulated trash, that's all that same stuff that I kind of put together. So fun stuff. All right, folks. Well, I think I'm going to call it a day. So it's been very fun chatting with you, as always. And we should be back in 2 weeks, most likely. So hopefully maybe I can be done with server stuff in 2 weeks. Or maybe I'll have an update for the asset package stuff. Like at some point, there will be some cool demos coming up. So I'm excited about that. I just need to get the darn coding done. Oh, what is this? Oh, that's a cool style. Very like clean for the chat. This is a quick chat demo. Hello, Eric. Oh, So cool. No, that's very cool. Oh. Yeah, I'd love to make stuff like that. Like, I'm kind of curious how you did that. You know, because it wasn't like built around that or something. I'm sure you probably had to jump through some hoops. But that would be super, that gets me thinking like something like this would be super cool for like a replay UI, just having like a transparent like play bar. So, which is basically like a menu, but is there the whole time, you know, and then maybe it would just fade out after a while instead of having like to press the menu button and then like having the replay buttons in that menu, you know, it's kind of weird right now. But that's super cool. And I love that. Yeah, like the little like minimalistic kind of look you gave it. Very inspirational sounding music too. Voice. Yeah, the voice chat topic. Yeah, that comes up. I'll answer that one more time, real quick, and then I'll call it a day. Yeah, I don't. My current plans do not involve voice chat. I figure if people want voice chat, like use Discord or something that has a lot of cross-platform support. But part of the problem is, like, I don't know if there's something that I could put in the game that would support all the platforms. You know, I don't know if there's something that runs on Windows and Android and Linux and, you know, other places the game might run eventually, or like the VR version. So I would feel bad putting in something that only supports like a subset of the audience. And so I kind of feel like I'm going to leave things like voice chat to other systems like Discord for now. And then plus, you know, like, which gets brought up is that, yeah, when I'm playing, I don't want to hear the people I'm playing against. So I'd like to limit the random people you encounter to emotes by default. So, you know, if you meet someone and you want to keep playing with them, there should be a way to figure that out. Maybe contact them after the game or something like that. Or, you know, turn on chat if you really want that. And then you can join their Discord server and then talk to them. But yeah, I don't currently have plans to add like default voice chat. This may change. And if it did change, you know, it would probably be something like it would be on for your squad only. So like you invite 3 friends to play, you'd be able to talk to them, but not hear the other 4 people in the game. So that's the plan anyway. Oh yeah, we haven't had a roadmap. Seagull, what the heck? We've been slacking, or maybe people haven't. I feel like people have asked some questions. Well, I don't know. Like I feel like there's been pretty good questions. Yeah, I'm trying to think. There hasn't been like a super clear, like obvious roadmap Seagull question, but it's good to have roadmap Seagull here. He's an important part of our gatherings. So. Yeah, so yeah, good job, audience. No roadmap Seagull questions. Though I don't judge roadmap Seagull questions. It's okay. Yeah, they're learning. All right, well, everyone have a good week, and I will see all you folks next time. Been fun. So peace out.